people don't understand is that how American chattel slavery differed from other forms of slavery that preceded it. So if you think about, and this is the kind of pushback you get when you talk about slavery. Well, I wasn't there. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that was, look at how long ago that was, and they cannot seem to connect the dots on that. But what made it unique from any other form of enslavement was the manner in which a person became enslaved, the length of servitude, the treatment of the enslaved, and how they were perceived as human beings. Before the European slave trade began, most people who became enslaved became so as a result of war. Two societies went to war, winners enslaved the losers, so on and so forth. But Europeans systematically turned the capturing, shipping, and breeding of other human beings into a business that would become the backbone of an entire economy.
Yeah.
You see, that's different. And it was situated around a belief in our intrinsic dehumanization, our lack of humanness. We were not perceived as full humans. And therefore, because we were not full humans, we didn't have to be treated like humans. After slavery came the multitude of lynchings, all the way up through George Floyd, Breonna, it goes all the way. When did the actual injury and assault stop? What is the symptomology of post-traumatic slave syndrome? Because the truth of the matter, it's not a diagnosis. It's not post-traumatic stress disorder, which is treated with medication and talk therapy and any number of other things. Post-traumatic suggests that not only have you been harmed physically, you've been harmed emotionally, you've been harmed spiritually, you've been harmed economically,
right?
You have been harmed politically, you've been harmed, and that requires more than medicine and talk therapy. That requires justice. Healing cannot happen without justice, because we'd love that to be it, because all they do is put a code in the DSM and figure out how to get paid for injuring us. What people don't understand.
Wow, good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. What words, no truer words, Niele.
Peace and love, everybody. Like Stacey said, I'm Niele, and you are so right, Stacey. Great topic to start the show off with. But along with that, we're going straight to Minnesota today. A lot of headlines coming out. And Stacey, I think that conversation that she had, I think Minnesota is the center of that conversation in our nation right now and what's happening. I took a lot of notes. It's like she said, how we are perceived as human beings. And look at how those people are being treated in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. How we're perceived is how they behave, because they don't treat the white Minnesota. Well, they did treat when they good,
Well, yeah, so even you're right. Minnesota certainly reminds you of all of what was said there. I think that was Dr. Janetta Cole, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But and white folks are finally starting to see how law enforcement itself has treated Black folks forever. However, her statement is so true in that. When we get folks, even on this on our thread, saying that we need to let go of that and this, well, you remember the United States government. I think even Bill Clinton mentioned it when he was president, but it wasn't really an apology. They, for decades and decades, for centuries, they refused to even apologize. And we talk about reparations, we couldn't even get an apology, let alone the 40 acres.
And that's what she was talking about, like post-traumatic. It's like there's no cure. She said it's physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, economics. And you can't have healing. You say an apology. We can't have healing without justice. And an apology is a start, right? You're acknowledging it. And when you're acknowledging, you're supposed to what? Do better. They haven't apologized, and they have not really done better. They've done things, but they haven't really, reparations, which is a huge conversation that I've been noticing. The Black community is having, those that disagree, like the people that you're talking about in the chat. But that's the conversation that they're having. Like, how are you talking about their issues when we can't even get no reparations?
Right.
Some people,
Right.
like, we need to be focused, Black people, and that's the conversation they're having about this new Black Panther conversation has taken off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all
Yeah.
there,
You,
to
you
this.
you said it. It starts with an apology, but the apology, you can't just apologize just to apologize. It's got to be sincere. And how do you know it's sincere? Look, we're not. So Black folks who talk about reparations, who ask for reparations, who deserve reparations, it's not. It's not about just because. When you look at the history of this country and look at the history of this world, reparations have been given to everybody but us. And
Yeah.
it's like, why not? And as you go throughout history, the Black codes, which we'll talk about later in our Black facts, we had to endure that. Black Wall Street, what they did there, Jim Crow, redlining. We can go on and on, mass incarceration. We can go on and on. So not only did they not apologize, but they doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on their oppression.
Mhm.
So what are we talking about?
Right. I mean, and it's part of, and then when you think of it from that perspective and look how they're rolling everything back, they're trying to take us back there. Look at how the way that those white folks in that Trump administration are handling immigration reform is reminiscent of when the boats went to Africa. They want to put them over here in this Caribbean island, but guess what? They want to control that Caribbean island. They want to put them over in, this, and then, it's just the same mentality, and so people are like, why y'all keep talking about reparations? Because they keep trying to take us back to slavery.
And even now, recent times, a couple of months ago, Donald Trump said that he wants to give reparations to white South Africans. He used the word reparation to white South Africans who he believed was discriminated against. The idea of taking Greenland. Now he's floating the idea of paying Greenland some amount of money, but giving each citizen, and they have like 55,000 residents in Greenland. He's giving each citizen $100,000 directly.
That's what make them feel good about him taking their stuff. But
right.
He just to take us, people of color, we don't get no check. Just snatch us.
So for all of those who want to complain about those who are still seeking reparations for Black Americans, look at what y'all are doing. Look what they're doing. Look at all that. I mean, you given so-called reparations. Remember the white slave owners. The slave owners got reparations when slavery ended. They got reparations.
Yeah.
And now he's paying reparations to white South Africans who up until Nelson Mandela, the crusade that he took on from prison and all the way into the 90s, basically had you can consider it slavery, white domination anyway. So they are being repaired for the wrong they did, not for the wrong that was against them.
Yeah, Austin Cooper says, my dad used to say, white folks are going to have a lot to account for on Judgment Day because there's not one group of people that they have not crapped on throughout human history, including their own.
Yeah, Austin coming from the top rope. It's always good to have Austin in the morning.
Nancy says, we won't ever get an apology from white narcissist people, and Minneapolis is the starting place. Yeah, people are chiming in. Happy Wednesday, Orangey. Yeah, it's a lot. Too bad we're starting to show off heavy, but
Well, say Orangey's whole comment there.
Happy Wednesday, and where is FBA on those other groups who only complain about reparations when a Black person is running for office? Yeah.
Period. End of story right there. So miss me with all that crap
Yeah.
that some of them talk about on here. Not all of them, some of them. And to make matters worse, and to really underscore what we're saying now is our first story, Neil. There's a new report from the Joint Center that shows the dire straits of Black America in Trump's world. Black unemployment, for instance, has climbed to 7.5%, and it's a level that experts say would signal a recession if it were experienced nationwide. The report is called "The State of the Dream 2026." And the analyst shows the damage that runs deeper than just jobs. They cite federal workforce cuts, tax policies that favor the wealthy, the weakened consumer protections, and rollbacks in broadband technology, and even climate change that has hit Black communities the hardest.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds reminiscent to the Blackout report from Onyx Impact. And they tie it to AI and misinformation, that's putting out there. And a lot of these things, it's so funny. Trump addressed in his 2-hour bizarre press
Rant.
conference yesterday. He wasn't rant. It was like they had given him something because he was cool as a cucumber, as he spit lies. And he talked about Don Lemon, but some of this stuff he addressed, but he addressed it as a win, not a loss. It was a
It
win.
is a win for him. It's a win for white supremacy.
Mhm.
The Black youth unemployment is at 30%, folks. 30%. And yes, Onyx Impact did contribute to this report, by the way, Neil.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's all there, and these are the things that we need to really be paying attention to, because as time goes on, we're gonna really feel it. Some people are feeling it, others may not right now, but that's the whole conversation. They're gonna feel it, and these are dire statistics. Donald Trump said yesterday, people sitting on their couch working. Oh no, we gotta stop that. That's just crazy. They need to come on. Why? This is what he said, y'all. He said, yeah, they on the golf course playing golf.
Oh Lord, he done spent $40 million in 1 year alone, of taxpayer money alone, playing golf.
He said that yesterday, like they need to get to work. Because they out there playing golf and watching TV and they streaming. I'm like, this man is
Oh my
telling us.
gosh.
He was telling us
Oh
what
my
he
God.
does.
Well, he was saying the niggas got to get back in the fields. That's what he was
Yes.
really saying. Black homeowners.
And how many of us is going to play golf? Come on, let's keep it real.
He said
Right.
that. He
That's
said
what he
they're
said.
playing golf. He was thinking about himself and the things that he does on our dime.
Black home ownership, according to the report, is stuck at 45% compared to 74% for white households. So there's that whole thing with the bank loans, banks refusing to give loans to us. The whole appraisal thing, which we talked about for the last few years, how that came to light, how racist that process is. You got Black families who try to sell their house and they got to put pictures of white folks all around their house to sell the house to get the real value to it. Stuff like that.
Right. It is, we got to wake up and we got to read this report. The Blackout report is, done well, comprehensive and easy to read and receive the information. And it makes you look at things from a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
It makes you really see, what they've done and the direction, we're going in as a people and as a country.
Yeah.
And we're the ones that are hurt the most because we're the lowest in population, right? What are we in US population? 13%. But when you look at the unhoused, when you look at unemployment, when you look at debt, we're the highest. We take the highest percentage, but we're the least in population. So figure that one out.
Yeah, figure it out. And real quick, before you move on to the next item, those on the East Coast and the Northeast especially, wary of a couple of things. One, the weather. I was talking to somebody last night. The weather in the Northeast, if you're in DC, Maryland, going down to Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York. We're talking wind chills that make it feel like it's 0 or less. So after you mentioned the unhoused, that's what made me think of the weather thing. I just feel so bad for people. You walk by, you see them, huddling up in a corner with some blanket or garbage bags over them. It's really sad when you see this man, this government, and it's not just Trump, but the government, but presidents, past presidents, just ignoring the homeless or the unhoused crisis that this country has had. It's embarrassing. It's so inhumane. I know in some cases there's mental illness here, but it's not all mental illness. There are folks who are working without a place to live because they can't afford it. The minimum wage remains. Remains.
Yeah.
All these years, when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, the minimum wage was $7 an hour. It's still $7 an hour, $7.25 or whatever it is.
But yeah, you brought up the East Coast as well as the Mid-East, Chicago, Detroit, Indiana. They're experiencing weather too. So yeah, and think about this: a lot of the organizations that help the unhoused, their federal funding is cut. So they don't have the financial resources to be able to service the unhoused in those, cities that are affecting chill, which is why, same thing that's happened in Minneapolis. They're one of the states affected as well, but they're not only fighting, the wind and the weather, they're fighting the Trump administration.
Exactly.
And the U.S. Department of Justice delivers subpoenas to Minnesota leadership, including Governor Walz, the mayors of the Twin Cities. I'm talking about Minneapolis and St. Paul. How about the district attorneys, which is also known as the city attorneys there, and Attorney General Keith Ellison. Now, the investigation, the AG, the federal AG, Pam Bondi, she's in Minneapolis. She went there yesterday. And the investigation centers around whether the Minnesota officials have been obstructing federal enforcement activities in the state. Now, a spokesperson for Ellison said they were in receipt of the subpoena and working on a response.
Can you say Third Reich? Can you say Germany, 1939, 38, whatever it was? Can you say all of that? I mean, because this is all of that. I mean, you already got state-run media. This is,
but you have to pay attention.
It's a time.
But you have to pay attention as to what they're doing. This is what you do when you set precedent. So if they are able to go into Minnesota and attack the leadership on a state level, because I'm always a state and a city girl. So if they're able to go in there and attack the state, attack the city, and be successful at it, this is the precedent that they will use in other blue states across the country. So this is, people should really pay attention to this. This is significant as to what they're doing to elected officials in the state of Minnesota. Because if this happens and you live in a blue state, guess what? They're coming for our states too.
Yeah, this is unprecedented. You can go way back. You can go to Jim Crow and beyond, but this is unprecedented. To go for a sitting president to go after an AG, a governor, city attorneys, etc. Like this is really uncharted waters for America. Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and thinking about, you saw what happened to Don Lemon. Attorney Nikema Levy Armstrong held a press conference yesterday. She read the threats that she's receiving on her phone now, right? So now she's getting death threats, and Georgia Ford is talking about how she's being attacked because they are speaking up, and because they did a call to action, and on the weekend of Dr. King. It was provocative. Yeah, it was provocative to walk up in that church. It really was. But it is insane that you can sit there and listen to a man preach. He wasn't there that day, but just be a part. Did you know that your leadership is out here picking up people, detaining them and throwing them in cars, and then coming on Sunday saying hallelujah, hallelujah? It's wild.
All of this, like I said, it's unprecedented. It's different. These are different times now, folks. There it is right there. Nakima says, when you see me speaking truth to power, when you see me disrupting businesses as usual, that is a result of my faith and my belief of the gospel of Jesus Christ, is what she says.
And she is a reverend as well. Okay, she's ordained.
Well, Stan in Minnesota, the cops there are also pissed because the black and brown ones are getting routinely racially profiled and harassed by ICE. And this is really, really wow. During a press conference on yesterday, the heads and chiefs of police in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, complained that ICE is racially profiling American citizens. No kidding. You guys have profiled them too. Do we have the audio here? No? Okay. Don't worry. Okay.
Or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we as law enforcement community have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from US citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a US citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim
there's
to
many things that he says there. You know, again, the racial profiling, perhaps the police forces like his, you know, I don't know their track record, but police in general have racially profiled. But now it's like, okay, so now you understand that this is wrong. But the other part that we talked again about Germany and Nazis, paperwork. At no point, and even in the Constitution, which again, they don't follow the Constitution. I understand that this administration views the Constitution as irrelevant. But Americans should not have to, has never had to produce papers like we're in Nazi Germany.
Well, you don't have to go to Nazi Germany. Slaves had to present paperwork when they had to go to the store.
We go beyond that, right?
Right. We don't have to go to Germany. We don't have to. We can talk about
there you go
what they did to us. Okay, we had to have paperwork to move. And
Yeah.
so it was so funny. A few friends called over the weekend. I mean, and they were distraught. I don't know. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm trying to detox from all of that.
Wait
But
a minute,
I
you
was,
said, I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want me to do. That, friends like that.
but it was, because then, you know what I'm saying? I had, I took a mental health day last week
Right.
because I feel them. But I told them, jokingly, I'm trying to figure out, because Christy Nomi got on TV last week and said, make sure you have your papers. And I'm like, excuse my language, bitch, what papers are you talking about? Because I don't have no papers. I got
Oh,
a
my.
passport and I have a driver's license. What paperwork are you talking about? And so to hear him say that, you could tell that's part of their training now. Get
Yeah.
that paperwork. What paperwork? I need to know from Homeland Security. What paperwork are you talking about? I am a U.S. citizen.
And it
That's
doesn't
a
even
problem.
matter. How many stories have we heard where people, American citizens, are showing their passports, their driver's license,
Right.
and they're still being, taken in, mistreated. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter.
Paperwork, girl. What is going on? Okay. A couple comments. Patricia says, Black, stay out them streets. Fight with your dollars. We are the ultimate target. Don't do it. Helen Brown says KKK members lynched people Saturday night and went to church Sunday morning. Orange G, my opinion, those Black and brown cops got a taste of their own medicine. I am not a fan of ICE. They are a terrorist organization. But to the regular cops, how many times have you racially profiled a Black person?
Mm-hmm. He's 100% right.
So yeah, and speaking about dollars, people, the Minnesota is fighting back, and yesterday folks fought back. But Minnesota unions representing bus drivers, teachers, janitorial workers, and beyond are joining the call for a statewide shutdown on January 23rd. Now, what they're calling for is no work, no school, no shopping. The call to action is ICE out, justice for Renee Good, and defund ICE nationally. Now, this is huge for a union. I saw the union workers speaking at a press conference yesterday, and they're shutting it down.
Mm-hmm.
They're shutting the city down. And then yesterday, more than 800 walkouts happened, right? And I don't know if you saw, news wasn't really talking about it, but I know even here in LA, do you want to play that, Greer? Oh, I know here, you want to play it? Oh, I know here in LA, I know here in LA, they had walkouts. So 800 walkouts. Organizers said that the 800 events were planned across all 50 states, with over 38,000 people signed up for rallies stretching from Tampa to Los Angeles to New York City. Now, organizers said the action was designed to interrupt normal routines, not just draw crowds. And so, yesterday was a call to action. Minnesota, specifically unions and around, they're having to shut down for the whole state.
Goodness grief. And you mentioned about defunding ICE. However, why it doesn't have a chance of happening, at least right now, is that Democrats continue to vote along with the Republicans on funding police, funding ICE included. They just had a new spending bill that they jointly approved, Democrats and Republicans. It included healthcare, but not healthcare subsidies that is breaking everybody and causing people to lose their healthcare. I'm wondering, I say that to say, Miel, with the ICE defunding, I'm wondering, with all of these compromises or givens that the Democrats are doing, and what's on the table for them? What are they getting back for this? Because they just did another $3 trillion. It seems, I think it was, I could be wrong on the number, but $3 trillion in military funding, another $2 trillion and some other stuff. It's like, okay, you're going along with everything, and they're not going along with anything on your side. that helps people, like the healthcare subsidies, like defunding ICE, what are you getting in return?
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I love about this story. It has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. It's about the people. And the people are telling Democrats as well as Republicans, we don't like none of it. And in order to show you, maybe we could show you better than we could tell you, and we just gonna sit out. We not gonna money makes the world go round. So guess what? We're gonna stop the money. And so that's the people power, showing you that we don't want you to fund ICE. David Youngblood says ICE has the largest budget. That's not the Department of Defense. Well, it's not the Department of Defense anymore. It's the Department of War. And now we know why they changed the name to the Department of War.
And what you just described too, pretty much is another reason that you can add to the long list of reasons. Greed, of course, is the biggest one, but Trump and his family and their money is coming from overseas. So and he's continually making these money grabs from Venezuela and Africa and all these other places, with the understanding that at some point the American people will do what you're saying that they're planning to do, is stop spending, to walk out and do things like that. So so what I'm saying is that's again, this has to put pressure on lawmakers to say, okay, we got to listen to these people. And right now, you got both sides funding ICE.
Yeah.
So we where else do the people go when you got such a corruption at the top that's not bothered by what Congress does, that's not bothered by what judges and courts say? Where do the people go?
The people go to organizing. It goes to people power. I mean, and the examples are those that have gone before us. So that's where the people go. The people go to the organizations that are boots on the ground, that are doing the work, participating in calls to action. That's where the people go. That's where they find their hope right now. That's why you look at when you look at Minneapolis, you see them going to the churches, you see people paying attention. If that draws 5 to 10 more people to the next protest and the next call to action, that's people power. That's organizing. So that's where the people go. The people go where their feelings are resonated and you see people doing something. That's how you get a fresh new group of leadership, because out of those organized, look at the civil rights movement. Look at how many people, John Lewis came out of the civil rights movement. He became the lawmaker that you're looking for. And so that's where the change happens. It's with the people and the power. So when we talk about unions coming together to shut Minnesota down, just like we say Trump is setting a precedent in Minnesota, the people also have the opportunity to set a precedent and say, hell no. And so that's what you see. It's important for the Georgia Force. I mean, it was important for Don Lemon to go down there, but it's important to support the work of the Georgia Force and the Toussaint Morrisons, because they're the ones that are answering your question. Where do the people go? They go to people power.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see. As Patricia Jackson said, that's the intent was, and it continues to be, to destroy the middle class. She says billionaire pockets good. So if you stop spending, they're not worried. Pockets are lined. This is destroying this country. Poverty is profitable, and that's one of the biggest takeaways going into this administration. They understood that poverty is profitable.
Yeah, it's so we were talking about Don Lemon, we were talking about journalists. It's scary in these streets, because not only were those Minnesota lawmakers subpoenaed, the Pam Bondi also her team sent a message to Don Lemon and put him on warning. And so when we talk about this story in Miami, this is relative because the Miami Beach woman is demanding answers after detectives showed up at her door to question her about a Facebook comment she wrote about the city's mayor. Now her name is Raquel Pacheco. I'm sorry. Pacheco. A former candidate for the Miami City Commission and the Florida Senate. So this is somebody of, prominence and a civic leader in the community. She says she was stunned when officers arrived at her home and began asking about a critical remark she posted online. Now, she had responded to a post from the mayor who shared a photo describing Miami Beach as a welcoming place. So her comment criticized his positions and actions, saying in part that he consistently calls for the death of Palestinians, tried to shut down the theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings, and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. So she says she never imagined that saying that in that post would prompt to a police investigation. Can you imagine?
It's been happening. It's happened a few times now where the Secret Service or other law enforcement have shown up at people's door based on a post that was just not threatening but critical, and that is today's America, and that is what you get some folks saying, "Oh, this is good for the country." This is what country is that good for?
Right.
So, come on.
I think about the stuff that I say, sometimes, just a response to a comment or something is that, and the thing about it, it's not both ways. Because if you say that something like that to a Democrat, they'll probably send you a MAGA hat.
Well, and flowers. Maybe even a check.
Mm-hmm. But we have some HBCU news, some good news. Just 1 week after his sudden firing, Morris Brown College has reinstated President Kevin James. Now, James announced his sudden termination, if you recall. We talked about it here on January 12th without a clear explanation. But on yesterday, Morris Brown's official leadership directory was updated, and James' name was once again as president. So James took, of course, the IG and posted a screenshot about his reinstatement with the caption, "The Hard Reset Part 2." And that's a reference to the Resurgence initiative he has championed at Morris Brown. Once again, people power, okay? Because when this happened, this guy, everybody started posting it, from The Pivot to Quintessential Gentleman. Roland Martin had him on the show. There was this guy out of Atlanta that did this whole investigative expose on him. I didn't know that the AME Church, Stacey, funded or was significantly a part of Morris Brown. Did you know that?
I knew that it was a religious affiliation. I didn't know who, but
it's the AME Church. He did he did a investigative piece, and he said he was going to dig deeper. So maybe they didn't want people in their business.
Well, whatever the reason, I'm going to tell you right now, when Morris Brown went back to Mr. James and said a week later, we need to bring you back, it is my guess that whatever Mr. James's salary was before he was terminated, that thing at least doubled for him to come back. Oh, absolutely. You coming back to me a week later, you made a mistake. People are upset. Oh, you're going to pay. Oh, my God.
Or you don't think he went back for the love? Because he was like,
what? Listen, love and money, they don't mix. It's a bad mix. Just give me the money. Mr. Kevin James said, run me my check. That's what he said. He had to. He was, well, I don't know how it went, but I can tell you what, nobody is in a better position than a man that you done said, you got to go. And a week later, you come groveling back. Oh, my gosh. I hope he got the bag and then another bag.
Well, I definitely think it's worth the conversation. He's called Blake the Great, to get him on to talk about the historical context of Morris Brown, its affiliation with the AME Church, and how all this is tied together. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But congratulations to President James for speaking out. People power. People power. But let's talk about some NBA lack of power. I hate
Lack
to
of
say
power?
it. Well, LeBron, I'm talking about, I mean, he didn't have the people power. People power wasn't with him.
No.
Yesterday, LeBron James found out that he didn't make the team. Oh, we want to start with this one first? Okay, we'll start. I was really starting with that it was revealed yesterday by the NBA that he is not a starter for the All-Star game. And this is the first time in 2 decades that LeBron will not start this time with the NBA All-Star game. I thought that was huge because the people vote those players in those positions.
Well, the way I feel about it's time to move on. I mean, he can play as long as he wants, but that doesn't make him an all-star starter. You got a league of players who are doing obviously a lot better than he is, and that's one argument. The other argument is that it shows that his popularity has dipped tremendously among fans, because the fans vote for the starters.
Right, they do. And remember last year when he was voted as top 5, he came on the sideline and decided not to play. A lot of people felt a way about that as well, because those seats are voted in and it's fan driven. So if the fan wants you in that seat, you couldn't have played. He came in,
give him 5 minutes.
Right. He came, he sat on the bench, and then he didn't even stay for the whole game. And so maybe, hey,
as Chris said,
we're gonna help you out. What she said?
Including you.
About what? Including you about what?
About LeBron.
Oh, hey. But in more news, LeBron and Nike is catching huge criticism for his latest Nike LeBron 23, Honor the King. Now, the sneaker teal design is said to be inspired by the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, where Dr. King was assassinated. Now, the controversy is over the sneaker and turning Dr. King's death into a $210 product. Many are saying it feels tone deaf. And so that's another thing that's trending. I mean, come on.
What I'm curious, Martin Luther King III and
Bernice.
And Bernice. What I have not heard their take on this at all yet. Maybe you have.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Because this story, it started last week, so it keeps popping up, and and at first I didn't think it was true. When I saw it last week, that's why I passed on it, because I'm like, this doesn't seem to be true.
AI, right?
Right. But then the Griot, and a couple of other credible sources picked it up. So it's like, okay, it's worth talking about because it's just unbelievable. I mean, I think tone deaf describes it the best.
Well, it just seems unfathomable that an athlete, a high profile, one of the highest profile athletes there is, would do something like this. But I'm curious to hear what the King family thinks of it. And here's the other part of it. Are they going to share in any of the profits?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or the King estate or something, I'm curious.
That's something. And then somebody affiliated, I saw this yesterday, affiliated with LeBron. I'm talking about Rich Paul. You know who Rich Paul is, right?
Yes, of
Clutch. And so Matt Barnes, his All the Smoke. Apparently Rich Paul has a podcast now. So he was talking about one of the players on the Lakers and his deal. And Matt Barnes was like, this is uncharted waters. Because if Rich Paul is making the deals, he shouldn't be stirring up no conflict in the locker rooms about, people's deals and what's going on. He was like, this is wild. I'm not saying this or that. But when the way Matt Barnes explained it, it does, like, come on. Y'all doing, you and LeBron, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Pick one.
They have been doing too much. We're going to stay with sports, but in a more serious note on sports. It's the mystery of a missing former NFL player, which has taken another wild turn. Michigan police put out a report that detailed a fractured and alarming timeline in the disappearance of Samuel Beal, who used to play for the New York Giants in 6 NFL games during the 2018 season. The report shows that Mr. Beal left Michigan on July 12, 2025, driving his ex-girlfriend's car. Initially denied travel when tracking data placed the vehicle. His ex-girlfriend denied the travel, but the tracking data placed the vehicle in Pennsylvania and then Virginia, and later admitted that he was in Virginia Beach without explaining why. His car was recovered days later in Newport News, Virginia, with just his shoes, socks, and sand on the passenger side, along with a July 13th Virginia Beach receipt, while his phone eventually went out of service. A miscommunication between Beal's mother and his probation officer delayed a missing persons report for weeks, even as family members sought help. The probation officer, so it makes it so wild because the probation officer refused to report him missing.
Mm-hmm.
His mother refused to report him missing. And they also are saying that Bill suffers from some mental health issues as well. But there are so many questions about the whereabouts of Mr. Bill and his movements over the last 6-7 months. And they don't know where this guy is. And the ex-girlfriend has given conflicting statements to authorities in both Michigan and in Virginia. The probation officer has, as I said, had initially refused to report him missing. The mother refused to report him missing. There is something weird about this story, Nia.
And so nobody has still reported. He's still not on the missing list. And nobody's contacted Black and Missing. Nobody's contacted Natalie about this.
Well, nobody's contacted Natalie, right?
I mean, that's where you go. When you're Black and Missing, you reach out to Natalie from Black and Missing.
There you go. But
so
it's a really curious turn of events here.
So nobody's seen this guy in months.
No, and they found his shoes, socks, phone disconnected, and they found sand in the vehicle. So, there's a whole lot of thoughts going on here. So
were him and the girlfriend having trouble? I mean, I know you don't know these things, but these are the things that come to my mind, like what? Because you saw the car. Things that
investigators probably or should be thinking about, right?
But if he's not reported missing and nobody is, nobody feels like it's an odd situation, clearly within his inner circle. I mean,
well, they have reported him missing now. They just delayed reporting him missing apparently for a couple of months. They were looking for him for a couple of months, and then they reported him missing. It's just odd that a probation officer would not report somebody who didn't report. Probation, you got to report.
Yeah.
It's odd that he is now, the authorities are saying he refused. They didn't say he simply didn't do it. They said he refused.
Yeah, so, something is up. Something is up.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. And somebody in that circle is mixed up in it because it just doesn't happen like that.
Nope.
Family members will not, and this is a former football player. Family members would not allow for this to happen for this long, right? Girlfriend, sir, I don't know if his mama's still living. Ain't no way in hell, unless your mama a crackhead, is gonna allow her child to be gone for 7 months. Nobody heard from, and come on, nah.
Yeah.
Probation officer too.
Right. This is going to be like a Lifetime movie story.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what I was thinking earlier. It's a Lifetime movie.
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely should keep track of this story. Just see how it plays out. Just out of respect for him too. Black Lives Matter.
David Youngblood said that the probation officer had that man doing side work. Wow.
That's what I'm saying. That money, something got messed up.
Yep. Wow. So David adds a new twist.
Right.
Already.
Lifetime, we got one for you.
We got one.
We got one for you. And finally, in some sports news, we want to give a late, but never too late. Congratulations to Jordan Childs on her first perfect 10 on the vote. Now she's going for the gym slam. Of course, that's like all the floor and exercises within gymnastics, but she is really, living up to excitement for the 2028 Olympics when we think about gymnastics. I still have not seen anybody jump as high as Simone Biles. That girl's at her height when she flips, it's just, I haven't seen anybody go as high. But Jordan Childs is just as close, but not, Simone Biles is like, ooh, that girl.
That clip Greer just showed, I'm telling you right now, you miss that, you're done. Yeah, that's a hard miss if you miss. So you got to know what you're doing. Homegirl, ace that.
Yeah.
And speaking of women in sports though, and fashion.
But wait, I wanted to just make sure that everybody don't forget as we talk about the Olympics that we sign up la28.org. Don't forget those $28 tickets. The lottery is open till March. $28 tickets if you know somebody that lives in California, but the tickets are $28. There's 1 million tickets at that price. All you have to do is register for the lottery at la28.org.
Mike V, I hope you're listening. Neil saying come to California, hang out with Neil at the Olympics. But you know what, speaking of sports and women in sports, real quick, did you see the entrance that Naomi Osaka made the other day when she went to play? OMG.
It was close to teal.
well, the whole get up,
yeah,
the whole get up with the hat and that. I was like, wait a minute now. So Serena, of course, made fashion and tennis popular, but look, this is how she wait.
That does look like teal. Looks like she has sneakers on. I wonder if those are those.
Yeah, because she got to play. She's getting ready to play.
And what tennis tournament is that just opened? It just started this week.
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know because usually they used
it was
to.
The Australia. It was the Australia.
Oh, it was Australia. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually at this time, it used to be years ago. Of course, they used to have the Open. I forget the name of it, but at Madison Square Garden, they used to play on indoor.
The U.S. Open?
Not the U.S. Open. That's always August, September in Flushing. But there was a tournament at the Garden they used to play every year. I thought they brought it back, but somebody, absolutely. But anyway.
Yeah. But if you're a tennis fan, the Australian Open is on right now. The tournament is happening. So if you want to see Naomi play and all the other Black Joy girls and men that are playing, it's what channel is it? ESPN?
Probably ESPN.
Yeah. Or you could Google it, but Australian Open is in full effect right now.
There she goes.
She had a baby. Remember, she just had a baby.
Yep. Exactly, and she, I like the shot there because it says hot shots back there. But she remember, she, speaking of mental health breaks, remember she took that mental health break and they criticized her for it. See, I didn't criticize you for your mental health break.
And she plays for, when we talk about the Olympics, she actually plays for Japan. She doesn't play for the US.
Right, exactly. Good for her though. She is she's bounced back really well, and I've always liked her. So,
and the Australian Open should appreciate that, because that outfit is what's drawing attention to the Australian Open. Think about it. That's the conversation coming out is, did you see what she wore? And it's like, well, which tennis tournament was that? And now we know it's the Australian Open. So all the time, we are the culture. We bring what's needed to anything to make people pay attention, and that's an example of it. Black excellence.
Black excellence. All right. So how about some black facts?
Let's go.
On this date, folks, back in 1831, a black exodus took place as the newspaper columns of Ohio's Portsmouth Courier prominently displayed a paragraph wrought with hatred and bigotry, putting words to the community's desire for separation as black and white as the ink on the pages. The column read, "The citizens of Portsmouth are adopting measures to free the town of its colored population." 27 years before the city published these words, the state of Ohio itself laid the groundwork for the legality of black prejudice by enacting the black codes or the black laws.
Yeah. Yeah. And what year was that? 1831.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today talking about ICE, right?
Right.
And demanding papers like, did your master give you the papers? Master Moore give you the papers?
Yeah, I'm saying, that's why I said, girl, what papers are you talking about? Because I don't know. And she had her hands in her nice little coat. She was like, I just encourage the Americans, have your papers. Just have your papers. You won't have no problem.
You know, listen, so let me say, I'm not owning that we're going back there all the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we often talk about, I'm talking about black folks in particular, talking about going back to the fields. We're well beyond that. And I was thinking about, regardless of the people who are in charge, right? But I was thinking about what Clyburn said and what some of those lawmakers were saying, and what slavery would look like in America today. We wouldn't be in the fields, like, you know what I mean? So we're talking about papers, like it's, you know, certainly needing to have papers, but what work would we be doing? Not just black folks now. It wouldn't be just be black folks. It would be brown folks of all, you know, walks of life. But what would that look like today? What work would we be doing, you know, that billionaires would be benefiting from? Because that's what it, you know, what it would be.
Well, and part of it, you know, it's already happening in the prisons. I know here in California, you know, they had to create laws because, I mean, look at what happened to the young boys that was fighting the fires. They had them out there fighting the fires for $5. You know what I'm saying? For $5 an hour, risking their life. You know, thanks to Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, who pushed for the governor to sign a law to give them a equal fair pay. But then you have some prisoners across this country that are making Victoria's Secrets and all types of stuff, and they really not getting paid nothing.
Yeah,
And
well,
so-
slaves don't get paid. What
Right.
in 2026?
But my
and
point
beyond,
is,
what would slavery look like?
but my point is, now that Donald Trump is in control and Geo and Core Civic
Right.
are his buddies, you know, the $5 may go to zero because who gonna stop them? You know, those are conversations that they're literally having right now. You know, so that's one form. Now, what the other forms are, let's imagine, but that is already happening right now. Those conversations are happening right now with Geo and Core Civic, the privatized prison industry.
David Youngblood says, have your papers is BS. The papers don't matter.
They don't.
It really don't.
And so that's what I'm saying.
saying.
We know that we know based on the laws that they're overturning, based on even what Clyburn said yesterday, when he had lawmakers say that they believe that slavery was a good thing. Okay. If this were to happen today, right? I'm not saying that it could, like that. I hope we not like people ain't just throwing their hands up, right? That you could just say, well, what would that look like today? I mean, there's no cotton fields for us to go into. This, you know, we're in the era of.
Well, I think we got the answer to that when Trump said early last year. You remember when they were deporting and talking about the farm workers, and he talked about the African Americans. I think that's what it feels really still come into play, because he believes, based on what he has said, that that's the type of jobs that we should be doing. And remember, he also said about the farm workers that were being deported. Well, they could stay only if they worked for these farmers.
Okay, so there's two. We got the private prisons, we got that. And then there's a conversation happening in the Caribbean communities about how he's building these concentration camps in Antigua and say whatever the countries are, the Caribbean. I know Antigua is one of them, but those are places to where you could be building and building up your slave arsenal to figure out what you're doing. They have a plan. So,
well, and this idea that he eliminated the federal jobs, right? Which was really a really big thing for middle-class Black folks. The idea prices going up, nobody's getting jobs, wages are just not there anymore. So, the idea work for food stamps, work for healthcare or whatever it is, that is really their idea, that you're going to have to turn to the government for everything.
Eventually, yeah.
Right. That's I think that's the plan, that you have to turn to the government for everything. You have to turn to them for food. You have to turn to them for, for rent, for healthcare, for everything. And whatever job that they decide that you fit, because there's not many, that's what you have to do. If you don't do it, you don't get anything. You starve to death. You go out in the cold, you freeze to death.
And what will happen? I mean, will these toothless, and this is horrible when I'm getting ready to say it, it's me, not the show, it's not the Black press, but these toothless MAGAs, the meth heads who are like, kicking around their flip-flops now, repeating everything that he says.
Right.
They'll just be forgotten. Like it's not like they're going to do anything for that group. They're just going to be forgotten and they're just going to starve right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yep. Okay. There's always enough.
There's always enough. Oh my gosh, there's always an upside. That's funny.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but these are very, realistic questions now as we look at what this man has done in his first year in office, which was why he gave that bizarre 2-hour press briefing in the press room yesterday. And he had this thick stat, and then he had these glossy papers like of people in Minnesota allegedly, oh, look at him. He's a child molester. And it's like, did you forget that you are in the Epstein files and we think the same about you? Like, what are you talking about, bro? But they spend money on these glossy pictures to print them out. 1 year, y'all, yesterday, and look at the conversations we're having. What would slavery look like today? That's what we are. And we're sitting up here giving to Stacey like you gonna be in the fields picking lettuce. I'm like, they're going to be in the prisons. We are really talking about and we're serious. This is where we are 1 year into a Trump second term.
Mike V says the money that he is willing to spend on Greenland, none of it is allocated for the flyover states that voted for him. Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of presidents, let's go back to a time where things were good again. America was great, for a lot. We know everybody didn't love Obama. We know. But for the United States and the projection that we had to the world, America was great. And I'm talking about in 2013, President Barack Obama's second inauguration happened today. It was a historic moment marking the beginning of his second term as the first African-American president. Now, one of the big highlights during this day, besides Michelle Obama's outfit, was Beyonce performed the Star Spangled Banner, and it was accompanied by the U.S. Marine Band. And then the controversy around it, of course, was she singing live or not?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, remember that? She later confirmed she sang to a pre-recorded track due to lack of rehearsal time with the orchestra. But nevertheless, that was a beautiful day. It wasn't as cold as the first inauguration, but it was cold.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, this is why you build memories, right? When times are a little dark, you got something, you know, to hold on to that at least gives you at least something to smile about, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, yesterday was his first year, and today we remember, you know, our favorite president and forever First Lady, Barack and Michelle Obama. And on that note, for the latest in Black news, you can always head over to blackpressusa.com.
We'll see you tomorrow.